Hi, welcome to NAR Fellowship. Today I have Steve Kent, who is a finance aficionado and expert, and and he's also a fellow learner. And I met him through Alignable, and another wonderful person from Alignable. And so we're just going to talk today about learning and also his journey. Um, so, Steve, um, maybe you might give a little bit of an introduction about yourself, um, so people can know who you are.
Sure. Thanks, Valerie. First of all, I appreciate you having me on today. So thank you for that. As a background for myself, I have a degree in accounting. I met my wife when I was in college. Great time there, 29 amazing years with her. I worked in the IT space for 32 years. So a lifer on the IT side. But in 2012, I realized I was building somebody else's dream. Part of that is I was now limited to what I could learn. So it all kind of ties in a little bit. I then spent a year trying to figure out what I wanted to do, opened up my own business, did not learn. So we're going to go back to that again. Did not learn the right things to do when opening up a business. So the business failed. I'm not afraid or ashamed to say that. It was a learning curve. I bounced around a little bit, and then I realized my true passion was helping people and educate them on the different aspects of finance, because things that I didn't learn, I wanted to educate them so they don't make the same mistakes I made. And that's all part of the learning education cycle. And that's how I really got into what I was doing. And I love it every day. Love it.
Sweet. Thank you very much for that nice, concise wrap up. I apologize. I had a little bit of echo there. It seems to be okay now.
Mhm.
Um, so my first question I usually ask, and different people answer it differently, and there's no wrong way to answer
Mm.
it, is what was your learning journey like? Some people mention like memories of their of their learning. Some people talk about their academic through life journey. Some people talk about how they, you know, when they first realized that they actually really enjoyed learning
Mhm.
for their own sake instead of feeling like it's school. So
Good.
feel free
Yeah.
to answer it however feels
No,
comfortable to you.
that's a great question. So I will tell you in full transparency, I was not the best student by any stretch. And again, that's just the way it was. I made it through high school, had a challenge to get my college degree, my 4 year degree. It took me 6 years to get a 4 year degree, but I did pursue through it or persevere through it, which was great. My greatest learning experiences came from actually owning the business and failing. And I know that may sound crazy, but for me, and I can't speak for everybody, but for me, I learn the best when I do something, whatever that something is. So I opened up the business and did not have enough of a whole bunch of different things, financial, operational, and other things, to really make the business work. So because I didn't have that experience, the business again didn't make it. But as I went through the next couple of years, I learned by doing. I learned by helping people, by reading books, by watching videos on YouTube. And then once I learned, I put into practice what I learned. And did I get it all right the first time? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But as long as I was learning and no one got hurt financially, emotionally, physically, as long as nobody got hurt, it was okay because I was learning. And then as I proceeded through my learning journey, I then became better and better. I'm also very careful. So when I help someone, when I tell them something, when I fill out the paperwork, I'm very careful and I slow it down, partly because I want to make sure that I explain it the right way, but also to make sure that the person I'm speaking with understands it. And I learned through experience, and again, my way of doing things, when I work with someone and they're happy with what I'm telling them, and then we start filling out the paperwork, before they sign that paperwork, I make them, or I don't make anybody do anything, but I suggest to them that they tell me back what we talked about, because I want to make sure that they fully understand it before they put their name to it. Because once they do that, they're locked in. And I don't want that to be a problem down the road. So I'm extra cautious, but in my mind, I know I did the right thing 100% of the time. So that's my learning journey.
Cool. Thank you very much. So, what are your current learning pursuits personally and professionally?
What am I learning personally? I'm learning how, on a personal side, for reasons other than this conversation, when I lost my wife, I was now a single parent. So I then had two kids at that point in their 20s who needed the remaining parent, being me. So I had to make up for what I was doing plus what my wife was doing. And over the last 15 years, 14 years, we have come together as a unit of three, and we're still helping each other sort through it, because you never get over something, but it's become better and more accepted, if you will, on a personal basis. On a business side, I learn every day. As I said earlier, I'm watching YouTube videos. I attend company presentations. I read books. I take continuing education. I do all the things to make myself a little bit better. Do I still have things to learn? Of course, everybody does. Things change every day. But it's, do you adapt and learn from those changes so that you can help other people to the best that you can and the best that's out there in the world? And that's what I do from a learning journey.
Cool. So, what have you learned that gives you meaning?
What gives me meaning? I find great joy, and people tell me sometimes, why do you do this? But I find great joy in helping other people succeed, whatever that means. And let me rephrase that. As long as it's legal, ethical, and moral. Let me just throw that in there, okay? But I help people succeed in their own thing, their own personal life, their own business life. And whatever I can do, advice, sometimes they just need a person to listen because they need to vent. I'll read documentation for them as the independent to make sure that what they're signing doesn't have any gotchas, if you will, or catches at the end that can come back to them. So when somebody succeeds, I'm happy. And in most cases, I make no money from helping somebody. But I don't care, because my whole goal is to help somebody be successful. And that makes me happy.
So, what, before I go off to the next question on that, I want to do a follow-up question. So, would you say for yourself, success would be helping other people find, morally centered success for themselves? Or
Yes.
what makes you want? I mean, most of us do want to help other people, but what prompted you to want to just help people find their own success after, you said in your learning journey that, you were building somebody else's dream, but then you're back to maybe you're helping somebody else's dream, and then now you help other people's dream on your own choice instead of being forced to? Is that what it is?
Correct. Because when my business failed, and I spent a few years basically wandering, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, there was a small group of people who I luckily got associated with who had similar journeys that I had. And they took me under their wing. And again, they didn't have to do this, but they took me under their wing at no cost to help educate me, to help right my financial ship, and in some respects, my personal ship as well. And because they helped me, I now help other people and pay it forward. Do I want to make money? Absolutely. We have bills to pay, and those won't go away. As much as we want to, they're not going away. But because people help me, I pay it forward to help other people. And I get joy out of helping other people, hoping that they will then pay it forward to others. And it just becomes that never-ending cycle of pay it forward, pay it forward.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. So I'll go back to my next question
Mhm.
is do you prefer self-study or classes more? Or is it a mix for you?
I prefer the mixed.
Mm.
I can do some some self-study, but I also need that classroom to reinforce, because sometimes I can read something and understand it one way, but in a class setting, maybe some ideas, some slant on something that I didn't think of that maybe changes my opinion, maybe explains it better. So the self-study gets me started, but the class setting reinforces.
That's helpful. I appreciate that. No, you mentioned some that you've overcome some challenges in the past. Um, what are some current challenges that you need to overcome, and what's holding you back?
What's so on the personal side, and we're going to get a little personal here. Okay, sorry.
Sure, no, it's fine.
But on the personal side, my own brain is holding me back, because I know that there is more out there for me on the personal side from a relationship side. But to a certain extent, I'm still holding on years later from what the relationship I had with my late wife. So personally, I know I need to get out of my own way. Quite frankly, that's what it is. On the business side, what's holding me back is I like to do a lot of things myself. And I'm very quickly learning that working as a team with other people will get me further. It'll expand my mind. It'll give me more trust in other people. And over the last several months, I have added people to my team, and I'm starting to realize that's the way to go, from a professional standpoint, from a personal standpoint, from other people's growth. Explain it, give them the leeway, let them do, help them if they need help, but help others so that I can expand and they can expand and grow. So I'm learning on both sides.
Wow. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So this one is kind of like the other one, but I think you kind of answered this one. But if you want to go more in depth, you're more than welcome to.
Okay.
Is what internal and external problems do you face? I think you just answered that.
Yeah, I think I pretty much, what has helped me on the personal side, which I didn't say a few minutes ago, was I happen to be very fortunate that my two grown children are extremely supportive of whatever I want to think, whatever I want to do. And they're there for me to support me. And in this day and age, my opinion is to have two grown kids who are not even kids, they're adults, but have two grown adults who support me, trust me, and are caring, honest. To me, in this day and age, to me is an anomaly. And I'm thankful every day that they're around and that we get along so well.
That's great. That's cool. So I think you just answered my other question that I had.
Okay.
Um, I'd like to talk about more. You and I talked in the Alignable meeting,
Mhm.
just getting to know each other and stuff. And I thought it would be interesting to share your your teaching background and what your thoughts were on mentoring. Um, if you might be willing to share that backstory a little bit with us.
Sure. So my teaching background, when I was in the IT space for all those years, really was letting people have the leeway and the ability to, for the most part, do what they wanted to do. As long as the end result was there, you could go around this way, you could go around this way, but as long as you get to the end result, you're good. And it was the learning curve for everybody is different, but giving people the trust, the respect, the nod on the shoulder that says, great job, keep going, you're doing a good job, you know, consider adding this to what you did, consider minor changes to that. But it's always that positive approach to let people know they are doing a good job. Because first of all, there was a survey done a long time ago that what's the number one thing that you stay with a company for? And believe it or not, it was not money. It was the ability to learn, recognition. That's the things that keep people motivated. So that's the way I now, not now, but all treated people is with that respect, with giving them that positive feedback. When I had them in business for 2 years, I was not the expert by any stretch. It was my company, and I took care of the financials, the operation. There were other people that actually worked with the clients. They were, quite frankly, they were smarter than me. They were doing a better job than I did. So I let them do their thing, and they did a phenomenal job. And they were told that constantly, that, you're doing a great job. And we would get feedback from the clients after they were done with the program. What do you think? What could we do better? And whoever else. And every single one said that the team did an amazing job. And the team was not me. The team was the people that worked with the client. And I would pass that feedback on all the time. And now when I work with a client, it's the same thing. It's that learning. When I sit down with a client or a potential client for the first time, it's all about education. There is no product talk. There is no sales pitch. There is zero. It is all about education. And that's the way it should be in my mind.
Sure. I was hoping you might be able to explain a little bit about what your former business was about, the mentoring, the tutoring thing.
Okay, so it's a great question. So the
Yeah.
tutoring, so when most people think of tutoring, they think of subjects, math, science, history, school subjects. This business was based around the cognitive skills. So it's the how you learn. So it's the memory, the attention, the logic and reasoning, the how fast you work. It's the skills that get you to learn, not the actual subject. And the program was really geared around how can we help a person to get to that point where you no longer need a subject content tutor. And many students coming out of the program no longer needed tutors because they knew they could remember things, they could work faster, they could logically figure things out. And that's why the program was a success. The reason it failed is because not enough students came to the program. Because when you're fighting an institution called tutoring, and a lot of the teachers in the schools were part-time tutors, they don't want to lose their income. So they're going to put down the program that I was offering. That's why it didn't work. I'm not saying tutors are bad, but when there's an alternative, they would stop the alternative because, again, it meant a loss of income because they no longer how to be the tutor. So
Yeah.
that was the problem. That's why the business failed.
Yeah. But it sounds like you were doing wonderful work. You worked with young children and you worked with adults. You had one gentleman you told me who was had to learn some stuff for management or something. Can you tell
Right,
that
right.
story?
So most of our students were children, grade school, middle school, high school. And there were a few adults. There was one particular adult who was a trader, a stock trader. And he was kind of doing okay for himself. But because he had a couple of large deals and he was recognized as a big person in the field, his company wanted to promote him. But in order to promote him, he needed to do more things faster and remember and be able to push that out to other people. He couldn't do that. So he came to our program, and in 3 months, we were able to work with him so that he went back to his company, got the promotion, and was a rock star because he was now able to do everything. So the program was amazing. But it failed because we couldn't get enough people in the front door because of the tutoring that we were running up against. But it was a
Sure.
great program.
So, can you explain more about the program than what might be out there that people can check it out? I apologize that you're not doing it right now, but it might be something that somebody wants to look into.
The program really revolved around activities. Now, back then, now we're talking back in 2013. Yes, computers were around, but we did not use computers. It was all sitting across a table, one trainer, one student. So it was one-to-one, and it was all activities. So we would have them, let's say, add a column of numbers, of 2 numbers. Then we would add 3 numbers. Then we would add 4 numbers. So while we're adding more numbers, we're also saying do it in 10 seconds,
Oh, wow.
do it in 8 seconds. We would have different, let's say, build a block, a set of blocks. So build the cube. Different types of manipulatives that we would do on paper and actual things you can touch and feel, do them over and over, do them faster, do more repetitions in the same time frame. That's what we did. And a lot of the activities that we did were on the internet, on YouTube, in various videos. The program really just said, how much of each activity will you do to start with? Because we did a test on everybody, so we knew what their capabilities were. And then based on which activities you were strong in, we did a little bit to keep them strong. But the activities that you had a problem with, we focused heavily on. And that's where so if we asked you to memorize, let's say memory was a challenge for you, we would say, okay, let's give you 2 numbers, 1 and 2. Okay, tell me the numbers back, 1 and 2. Now we'll give you 3 numbers, then 4 numbers, then 5 numbers. And we would say, give it back to me in 10 seconds, then in 8 seconds, then in 6 seconds. So you're giving more, and then you're increasing the time or increasing the repetitions. That's what the program was all about. And it was a very successful program. And just to be fair, it was a franchise. And the model was great because there are still others out there in the franchise who are successful. Different parts of the country have different levels of acceptance. Where I was in New York, the level of acceptance for that program was not there. That's why it failed. But it's a good program. And they're still out there today. So, yeah.
Are you comfortable saying what the franchise was?
No,
Okay. All right. No worries.
no.
Um, uh, what, so to go back onto the mentoring section,
Mhm.
you were mentored by some dear friends who took you under their wings and helped you with getting, understanding financial stuff and understanding business stuff. And can you describe a little bit about what that mentor was like for you, and what you think they did really well, and what things you
Mhm.
wish they could have done better? And I'm not trying to pick on them
No,
about
no. Yeah.
badness, but I'm trying to learn more about mentoring itself as well.
So the mentoring that worked for me, and obviously there's umpteen numbers of mentors and different styles and things, but what worked for me, because I came from a place of knowing virtually nothing, the mentorship for me was, here's a concept. Let's delve into what it is, why it makes sense, how to apply it. Because it's one thing to talk about something, but it's another thing to apply it. So they taught me different things in the financial space of how to save money, how to pay or not pay taxes on your earnings. They taught me ways of, and different concepts of where to save money and where not to save money. They taught me concepts of credit cards, which are great instruments if used correctly. If not, they could really hurt you financially. And all these concepts were explained, reviewed, put into practice, because some of them I used on myself because I was rebuilding my own financial. So I got to learn in reality what it meant, why it meant, how to do it, and how to do it the right way. Because if some of these things or some of these concepts are explained the wrong way, you could end up hurting somebody as opposed to helping them financially. And the biggest downside of hurting somebody is you're not going to know that you hurt them until down the road. When they, let's say, when they retire and the money that was supposed to be there for their retirement may not be. That's a huge piece, because again, I'm in that space. I mean, I could retire today if I wanted to. I don't, because I love helping people so much. But the concepts that I learned a couple of years ago put me in a position that I know that money will be there. I check my statements every month. I know that I'm on the right track. So what I learned through mentoring is in practice, and I use it on myself. That's why I know it works.
So I have a couple thoughts. One is, was the mentoring more narrative, personal stories of this is what worked for me, this is what worked for my family, this is what worked for my grandpa, or was it more like, here's how to do this instructional thing, or the mix, or how was the information conveyed to you?
So it was it was a combination of both, really,
Okay.
because the way my mind works is you can tell me something, but I say trust, but verify. So if you tell me that something can work, prove it to me, show it to me. So show me your, obviously, take your name off and stuff, but show me your bank account balance.
Sure.
Show me your investment, that if you're telling me to invest in something, show me you're invested in it. Show me that your mother, father, grandfather, kids have it. That to me is a big deal, because you're not saying, it's like somebody says to you, go run a marathon, but have you run one yourself? No. So why should I run one?
Yeah.
So when somebody tells me something on the financial side, show me it works, that yes, you've saved so much, you have so much, but now tell me how you got to save so much. What steps did you take? In what order? It makes a big difference in some cases what you do when. Does A come before B, or does B come before A? It could make a difference. So it's the combination of the two, that the mentoring, and then once it was explained to me and then shown to me, I then took a very, very small amount of money and tried the first thing and watched it work. Very small, something I could afford to lose, $100 or whatever it was. I wanted to see it work. And once I know it worked, then I went more. And once I saw the second one, the higher amount going in, then I went all in because I knew it worked for other people. I learned it, and now it's working for me.
Great.
So
Cool.
when I sit down with someone and they say to me, "Oh, do you have these things?" I pull up all my statements. I have no problem showing them. I'll
Mm,
log into my account and I'll show them, here's all my different types of accounts. Here's when I put it in. Here's what it grew to. I show people because I want them to understand I'm not telling you to do something that I don't believe in, that I haven't done myself.
mm.
That's the way, again, that's the way I work.
That's how you mentor. Is
Correct.
you try to explain everything. Now, we had some dear friends who were finance guys years ago, and they moved on to other things, but they wrote a book and they talked about how the smallest amount of, of finance is actually the money. It's actually our emotions and what we do and don't understand about our emotion that control the money. Do you find that's true as well?
Emotions can, in many cases, hurt you because we all know that the stock market, since its inception, goes up and goes down, goes up and goes down, and it will continue to do it, as far as I know, forever because it's just the way it is. But what typically happens because people act on emotion is they tell you buy high, I'm sorry, buy low and sell high. So here's my question. How do you know when low is low? And how do you know when high is high? So when do you buy and when do you sell? It's a great question. There is no
Yeah.
answer because it's based on emotion. And most people end up over the long term losing because
Mm,
emotion. I'm
mm,
excited the market went up. I buy. Here's the example. Let's say you got excited and you bought early 2008. If you remember, in 2008, the stock market went down, give or take 50%. So if you had $100, tomorrow you have 50. Now, we're not talking 100. We're talking, depending on what you have, thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. You lost about 50% of your money. There's somebody in my company who he's doing very well, and he had a sizable portion of money in 2008. The market lost half, about half. It took him 11 years, 20, just to get back to where he was in 2008.
mm.
And guess what happened in 2020? COVID. So he finally came back and then he lost some more.
Oh man.
That's emotion. If
Mm,
you keep buying and selling, it's emotion. But if you can find something that is not tied to the market, you can get the gains, but not the losses. And you
mm,
take emotion out of it. And if you
mm,
let somebody else do it for you for a small fee, because everybody charges some fee somewhere, because
mm,
nobody does it 100% free. But if you absolutely minimize that fee, and there are some out there that charge no fee, um, you can do very well over the long term.
So what I was getting at is the book was about how our own mindsets and our emotions control how we manage our finances, not just in the stock market, but actually month to month. You
Yes,
know, we can get into a scarcity mindset or
correct.
impulsivity mindset, and it would be tied around more spiritual or heart issues than it was about finance itself. It just came out through finances.
Correct, correct.
And so
So,
I was kind of curious if you may have not heard about them particularly, but I just didn't know if this was something out in the finance world where other people have other theories or something like that.
I think what your friends with the book did is correct. What I think happens is there's a nice to have and there's a must have at mentality. It's nice to go out to dinner. Must you have $100 steak, or can you do a $15 hamburger? You must, in theory, okay. So you need a car to drive, assuming there's no public transportation, right? You need a car. Must you have a $150,000 Mercedes, or can you do with a $40,000 Mazda or some? I'm just throwing that out there. It's the comparison of you need to have something, you need to eat, you need to have clothes, you need to live somewhere, but must you spend the top to get that? Can you somehow come down just a little bit and use that extra that you're not spending towards your future, your kids' college, put it aside for an emergency fund, whatever you want to do. So that's the need to have versus must have. And emotions play a big part of that. Have you ever heard the term keep up with the Joneses?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so if your next door neighbor has that $100,000 car, do you need it? If they go on a round the world cruise for 3 months because they're loaded, do you need to do that? Can you do a 1 week cruise instead of a 3-month cruise? I mean, they may be extreme examples, but that's kind of the nice to have versus the must have. And that's the difference. And that plays on emotion because you're saying, I must have what I must have what the person next to me has.
Right.
Why?
Is there anything else like keeping up with the Joneses in the finance world that kind of trip people up? Some like maybe that they are too cheap and they're not willing to spend money where they should spend money, and then they lose money. Kind of like buying cheap glasses, and the glasses like fall apart or whatever.
Well, there's a whole thing. I know my parents were born in 1925. They would have been 100 years old this year if they were still around.
Wow.
And based on the mindset of going through the Depression and World War II and other things, they were reluctant to spend because they're always afraid. I know my parents, they did a little bit of travel, but they always said, I want to save it for later, save it for later, save it for later. And then my father got sick, and almost all the savings they had went for his 24/7 home care. So they never got to spend it. So there has to be a balance between spending and saving for the future. I'm also, to your point, I'm also a big proponent of, if you're going to buy a pair of glasses and you're going to spend 30 and they're going to fall apart in 3 days, or you can spend 50 and they'll last a year, year and a half, 2 years, spend the 50. In most cases, you get the quality you pay for. Most cases, you get the quality. Sense to pay a little bit more, but know it's going to last. And to me, that makes sense. I'd rather pay a little more now and save in the long run than to try to be too cheap and then have to buy it again and again and again, because then you're spending more in the long run.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So, is there any other thoughts you had on that?
No, that's pretty much the examples I can think of right now.
Sure. So, let's talk about your business, your current business. Do you mostly so what exactly do you do, and how do you help your clients?
So my business focuses on, again, the financial side of helping people to grow, protect, and save their money. One group of people are business owners, because business owners, and let me say, if you're a business owner, congratulations, great job, keep it going. Because a lot of people are employees. So if you make that transition into being a business owner, I love it, because that's what I am now. So I think it's great. But if you're a business owner, many business owners think I draw a salary or some type of compensation from the business and I created a lifestyle around it. But at some point down the road, you're going to exit the business. What are you doing today to set yourself up for that time down the road when your business income is no longer there? How do you still have an income to live the same lifestyle? And that's what I help people do, is to plan now for the future. I also help people. Have you ever heard of the sandwich generation?
I'd not heard that term before.
Okay, the sandwich generation, give or take, is the group of people somewhere between 45 and 55, 45 and 60. They're sandwiched between their parents who they're helping because they're older and need financial, emotional, physical support. They're sandwiched between their kids who may be young, they're trying to save for college. And in trying to help the parents and the kids, they're neglecting their own financial future. So we help that group of people to take care of the parents, take care of the kids, and also help set them up for their future. Because one of the things we say to people in that range is, you're helping your parents. And in a lot of cases, you're sacrificing time, energy, money that you could use for other things. So if we could help you as that 45 to 55, set yourself up financially for the future, then when you get to that point, your kids won't have to put money out financially to help you because you have already been taken, or you already would have taken care of it, if that makes sense. So that's what we do for them. And then we also help the kids to help set up funds for life. Now, the difference is there's a college plan and there's a life plan. College plan is for college. Life plan is for anything: college, marriage, car, home, whatever you want to use it for. Much less restrictions than a college plan. So we help multiple groups of people. Right now, the largest group, quite frankly, is the seniors, either in retirement or going into retirement. 10,000 people a day are turning 65.
Wow.
Many of them are not financially set because they were never taught when they were young. So if you remember what I said earlier, set yourself up for the future. Like a business owner, set yourself up for the future. If when you're young and healthy, and you can and have the means to, set yourself up when you're young, let time work for you so that when you get to that point, you can decide when you want to retire, as opposed to somebody saying to you, hey, Valerie, thanks, but you're not needed anymore. It's time for you to retire. That conversation should never happen if you plan correctly. Because if Valerie does get told it's time, I'm sorry, Valerie can sit there and say, thank you. I'm ready to go. Thank you. That's the position you want to be in. You want to be in a, you can say, bye, I'm gone, I'm out of here, and live the life you want because you've planned for it correctly. That's what we do. And I love it.
So for people who, through different life circumstances, couldn't plan for that moment, what are their options? Are they just doomed to work at Walmart, or there's some things
No.
that they can do that try to, you know, make things better for themselves?
So
They're not going to be millionaires or anything, but they need
No.
something.
Right. So part of what we do, and again, it depends on when we get to talk to these people based on their age. Some savings are better than no savings to start with. Then we can sit down and budget with people. What are you spending on now? What, again, must you have versus it's a nice to have. So what can we cut out of your income? Or at the, well, not income, but out of the expenses tied to the income. So we work with people on the budgeting side. Depending on where you are, we also offer people opportunities to make money by helping other people.
Hmm.
So if you come to work with us, we'll help you, we'll train you, we'll mentor you. And if you help another family become financially successful, you get paid for that. So
Oh,
as I said, my team is expanding. I have a team right now of 11 people, and the team is growing
cool.
because people are looking for opportunities.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what we can help people with, but they
So,
have to be willing to learn and do.
so do you help with people with like an overarching plan? You help with different finance options? Do you help with investing? Or I apologize my ignorance on finance.
No, 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 not at all. Not at all. It's
So
a great question.
yeah.
There are many options that are out there, and there is absolutely no right single answer for everybody because everybody's situation is different.
Mm.
So we sit down with each person, and if they have a partner, wife, husband, partner, whatever, is politically correct these days, right? So we sit down with the person and their partner, and we do an analysis of where are you today financially? Where are you today? And where do you want to be? What are your time frames? What are your goals? What's your risk tolerance? And based on those questions, we then lay out a plan for everybody. Whether they like it or not, whether they choose to do it or not, that's 100% their option.
Mm.
But the idea of giving them the options is they're going to learn things that likely they never knew before. And it could open up some things to help them where before they might not have had any options.
Okay.
And that's why. So, did you ever play Tetris?
A little bit.
Okay, but
Very
of
long
the
time
game.
ago.
You
I
know
know
of the
I
game.
have Tetris,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, when all those bars come down, you have to maneuver them around so that the game doesn't end. Well, it's the same thing here. Each person is different. Each person has different bars, different shapes, different sizes that are coming down. Can we take those bars, move them around, and make them a winner in the game? Instead of the game winning, they're going to win the game.
Cool. So, let's see. What are some of the challenges in trying to help people? What do you find some of the more prevalent mindset or just ignorance of something that trips people up?
Okay, I personally don't like the word ignorance, but that's my own thing.
I mean,
I like to
not
call it
knowledge,
uninformed.
not
I like to
knowledge
call it
of something.
uninformed. There you go.
Oh,
Not knowledge,
uninformed. Yeah,
uninformed.
uninformed. Yeah,
That's
I
just the
I
word I
apologize.
use.
I wasn't trying to be derogatory. I
Yeah,
was
no, not at all. Not at
fun.
all. Not at all. So the biggest challenge that I find, people believe what they're told. So they are told, for example, put your money in a bank to save. But in a bank, typically you're earning less than inflation. So you're really losing purchasing power. People are told you get a credit card. You should have a credit card, right? So you get a credit card. They also tell you use the balance. They also tell you when the bill comes in, pay the minimum payment. So people do what they're told. But depending on the interest rate and stuff, you may never pay that balance off because all they want is the interest month after month after month. So if people are told over and over and believe certain things, when we come in, me and my team come in, and we say, think about it a different way. Don't put your money necessarily in a bank. Pay off more than minimum every month on the credit card. It's hard to get through why. It's hard to get through that they believe that you're telling them something that's for their benefit when they've been told over and over and over one way, and you're telling them another way. So it's very challenging to change somebody's mindset for years and years and years. If somebody is told you cannot possibly run a 4-minute mile for years and years and years, I'm not a runner, but runners were told the 4-minute mile is unbreakable. You cannot break the 4-minute and do it in less. Well, a whole bunch of years ago, somebody did. And once that first person did, more and more people are doing it because they
It was
know
like
it can be
37
done.
followed.
I don't know what it was, but it's that concept of be different. Don't follow the pack. Be different. Do something different. And that's why I said, as I said earlier, when somebody says to me, no, I don't believe that can work, I show them what I have, what I'm doing. I show them my statements of all my different things financially that I'm doing to show them I'm doing it. I'm not just telling you, I'm doing it. Here's my stuff. Some people will come around and believe you. Some people won't. But I always leave every client or potential client with research it yourself. If you decide differently, I'm here. This is not a hard sales pitch. This is education. If you don't believe me, please do your own research. Here's my phone number. Here's my email. Get in touch with me if you want to. And that's the way I leave it. Some come back, some don't, but it's their choice.
Right. So, we're getting up to the hour here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So let me ask you a couple more follow-up questions. What are some resources, types of tools, or things that you found that are helpful, whether it be for learning and or finance?
YouTube is great, but I would look at multiple videos on any one topic because, again, there's different viewpoints on everything. I would look at multiple videos, like I said, videos, viewpoints, and I would read different books. And again, you're going to get different opinions and viewpoints. But I would also then speak with a licensed financial person. Has to be licensed, because I have found a situation where somebody said, I went to my neighbor about a particular financial thing, and my neighbor gave me advice, and I lost all my money. So I said, first of all, was your neighbor licensed? No. Did your neighbor have any experience? No. So why'd you listen to them? But people do that. They talk to their cousin Joe, their Aunt Mary, their whoever it happens to. Sorry, Joe and Mary, but I just picked up two names. But they talk to people who don't have the experience, the schooling, the license. And that should help to set you above just, I don't know what to do.
Misinformation.
I would also, the same way that I learned, I would ask for, if somebody says to you, invest in X, does that person invest in X themselves? Because if they don't, why are they telling you to? Because they don't believe what they're telling you. Everything I tell people, I said this before, everything I tell people or suggest to, not tell, but I suggest to people to do, I'm doing myself. Everything. I won't tell you to do something I haven't done before because I don't know it's going to work. And again, the way my brain works, I need to hear it, see it, do it. If that does work, then I will tell you, hey, Valerie, try this, because I've done it and it works. That's the way I work. That's the mentoring that I do.
So what would you, And if somebody wanted to do research, what would you say are reputable information sources on finance? So you mentioned YouTube and books, or
Right.
maybe a magazine or something. What for the layperson? What what would be reputable? Um, they may not be licensed, but they are, have the um, educated wherewithal to understand
Okay.
the truth from the
So,
misinformation.
so I would suggest, from the financial perspective, do a Google search on top 5 financial companies, top 5 life insurance companies, top 5 annuity companies, top 5 something. 8. And every site has a marketing section on their websites. And on that, or in that marketing section, look up the different products. There's also a site out there called Limra. It's Limra. Do a search on limra.com. It's an independent company that tracks life insurance companies and sales of different products. See which products are the most popular, which have been around a while. There's a chart that you can download that shows the top 3 types of insurance policies and market share. So if a market share over the last 10, 15, 20 years is shrinking, you may want to say, yeah, that may not be what I want. But here's another one that's growing market share. You may want to take a look at that one. So you can do independent research on your own. Then when you have a list of questions, then call a licensed financial professional. So I do once a week on Friday afternoons with another gentleman. We do a 30-minute session on TikTok.
Oh.
And it's open to, we talk about anything because it's just us. We're not sponsored. We don't get paid. It's just 2 guys who want to give their honest opinion. And we talk about a whole host of topics. And I talk about the financial. He does his piece. And I put my phone number on there and I tell every single week, I'm here. Call me. I do not charge for consultations ever. So call me, contact me. Let's talk. Let's get on a short Zoom. I'll answer your questions. If I don't know, I'll give you a place to go research. If I know, I'll tell you. But that's what I do for people is I'm that independent person. I am a broker, so I can go across multiple companies. I'm not tied to one, so my views are not skewed to one company, which is a big deal. You want multiple views. That's what I do for people. That's how I can help give that independent perspective.
Cool. So what we'll do is we'll include that information in the video description below for people who want to check out your TikTok with your friend,
Okay.
and also your contact information. So if they want a free consultation, and with you, they can contact you directly. So we're getting up on the hour here. I have a couple more follow-up questions. What have you learned that you found helpful? It's probably a big question, but like you can take that the most recently if you want,
What have I learned that's helpful?
that you found helpful.
I've learned not so much from the financial perspective, but I've learned through hearing, and this is probably going to be a bad statement, but I've learned through hearing other people, honesty is the best policy. And I've done this for a long time, but I've reinforced my feelings of be honest in all cases. And the biggest part of that is when someone says, I want something, instead of just saying, okay, and giving it to them because it may not be the best for them, I've learned how nicely to say, let's consider another option. And then you put side by side. And they understand. And again, that all comes from being uninformed. If you want a specific type of investment, have you thought about the cost? Have you thought about the volatility that it can go up and down? Have you thought about long term? Have you thought about inflation? Have you thought about different things? And in many cases, the answer is no, because again, uninformed.
Mm.
But that's where I've learned, never tell somebody they're wrong. Give them another option to consider.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And nicely show them side by side. Would you rather have this or this?
Mm.
And if they want to go with theirs, go right ahead.
Mm.
Go right ahead. But at least I've done the right thing by giving them an option.
Mm. Okay.
That to me, I've learned, and it's just reinforced because it's the right way to go. It's the honest way to go.
Oh. So I'm gonna pick on you a little bit, but not in a mean-spirited way.
Go ahead.
So, but I'm just honestly curious what you will say, and you might say, "Well, this is a paradox," but so in finance, it sounds like you need to do something different, but you need to be aware of what works for the majority of people at the same time. And so we follow the crowd, but not follow the crowd.
Right.
So, I wondered if you could elaborate how to, in your many years of doing finance stuff, is how do you discern when it should be doing something different and when you should take stock of what the majority of people are doing? How do you kind of
Okay.
figure that out?
So it's a good question. It's a very good question.
Thank you.
There are a host of different things that we can offer somebody. The way our process works is the first time we sit down with someone, and I mentioned this a little earlier, I believe, it's a short presentation, high level of different concepts, different things that are out there. And in that conversation, we find out about a person. What are their, again, goals, dreams, timeframes, risk tolerance, and all those other things. So now you're taking this vast array of options and narrowing it down to what might possibly suit them. Again, high level. The second presentation gets into more nuts and bolts. That's where we actually dive in to their income, their expenses, their assets, their liabilities. Then we match off where they are financially to their goals and dreams. So you've heard the term funnel, right? So you have a marketing funnel, a sales funnel. So it starts out at the top that's really wide, and then it slowly narrows down. Well, that's our process. There's a vast array of products at the top. And then as we have first conversation, second conversation, we're narrowing it down to the bottom end of the funnel. So when we end up presenting a potential solution for this client, it's tailored to their specific needs, wants, goals, timeframes, etc. That's how we do it. So it starts out with the world, and then it comes down to, your fingertip. I mean, it comes down from huge down to narrow based on what the client told us.
So you basically, you don't just follow the crowd to follow the crowd, and you don't just do something different to be different. You find out the real individual situation the person is in first, and then you pull the information from that would apply to them.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Applied knowledge, basically.
Absolutely, it's applied knowledge.
Okay. So, one other thought I had, and I'm trying to remember it now. Let's see. Oh, creators. I remember now. So I don't know if you've worked with a lot of creators or creative people. They're kind of different, where they're trying to build a platform to make passive income, whether it be podcasting or writing on Substack or writing books
Mhm.
or creating content of some sort, so downloadables and all this kind of stuff. Have you dealt with any of those people, and what advice would you have for them? Because their income tends to fluctuate because they're building something from scratch. And
Right.
so they may not have they might have a day job to pay the bills, but they
Mhm.
might not have a lot of extra room to, um,
Mhm.
with to the savings and stuff, and they're trying to build passive income.
Right.
But what thoughts or advice do you have for those people who are the builders and
Okay.
more from the creative aspect?
So the financial world, rightly so, is heavily regulated. And it should be because you're dealing with people's money and their futures. But the creative side of what we do is that every family is different. And it's a pick and choose. It's again playing Tetris. Which bars coming down do you choose to form that solution for the client? So if you're a creative and you're looking and you only have 5 hours a week and want some passive income, you can come into this business. I am expanding my business. There is a training program. You have to follow certain rules, but you also have the ability to think outside the box from that vast array of solutions that I mentioned earlier at the top of the funnel. Structure, but there's some creative allowed. And as long as you stay within the law and don't promise what we can't deliver, never ever do that. Okay. If you can't promise what we can't deliver, if you're promising something that's illegal, you're out. I mean, you're out like this. Yeah, we're very strict and we should be. But if you're a creative and you want to try something different, no commitments, give me a call. Let's talk. There's no cost other than the little bit of time that we chat. But if you have that little bit of time and you want that passive income, a lot of the people in our company are part-time. They only work that 5, 6, 7, 4 hours a week, but they're doing okay. And it's passive.
Mm.
So it can be done if you want to.
Oh, okay. So you don't really have specific thoughts or money information for people who are like writers, podcasters, um, actors, dancers,
Well,
influencers, or anything like that.
I don't have any connections into those fields other than yourself. Okay. I don't have any
Okay.
connections into
Okay,
those
that's
fields.
fine. That's totally fine.
But if you're in those fields and want something different out of those fields, then I can give you that passive income, or at least set you up for that passive income. You still have to do the work, but I can
Right.
give you the opportunity to get that passive income.
Okay. Cool. Alrighty. So let's go to my last question. And actually, first, before I ask my last question, do you have any questions for me? I keep forgetting to say that to people.
No, I'm good. I think this is a great
Okay.
conversation. So I'm good.
Okay. I appreciate you going with flow here.
Yeah.
Um, so the last question, drum roll. Um, do you have any last thoughts or words of encouragement for other learners?
Learn the best way that you know how to learn, meaning some people are visual learners, some people are auditory learners, and some people are kinesthetic, touchy feely. Learn the way you learn. When I was in school, I had certain teachers that only taught one way. And if that was the way I learned, I did well. If it was not the way I learned, I didn't do so well. That's why I was not a great student, because some classes I got A's and some classes I got D's, and I'm serious. I joke and I kid around, but my high school graduating class was 1,000 people. And I tell people that I was in the top 80%,
Aww. Aww.
which means I didn't do too well.
Yeah.
I mean, I did okay. I had a B average, but
Oh.
but if I had teachers and again, I'm not blaming the teacher because the teacher teaches their style.
Mm.
But if I was in with different teachers that taught my style, I would have been a lot better. Again, that was me.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing your learning journey and your business stuff and being open and honest with us. We really, really appreciate that.
No,
So thank
absolutely.
you
My
very
pleasure.
much, Steve, for being on NARA Fellowship. And thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thank you, Valerie.